kind of next step after the, getting us talking to state agencies. Uh, while there are, like I said, while there are governmental agencies that investigate and enforce labor laws, there are times when engaging a private lawyer for assistance with your situation may be necessary or beneficial. Um, that could be because of speed, right? You need action faster than generally comes from government agencies. That could be because of the level of violation that you're dealing with, right? It may rise to the level of a civil suit, as opposed a civil lawsuit against your employer, as opposed to just an enforcement action from the agency, right? If something really egregious has happened, you can file a lawsuit and seek damages. Um, the agencies tend to not deal so much in damages, but like back pay and making sure that what was done wrong was corrected, and then maybe some fines and things like that on the terms of the employer. But they're not there to get you a big payout. They're there to get you what was owed. And what was, and then the rest, the fines and stuff are usually just a slap on the wrist that don't matter to most businesses. So there are definitely times when lawyering up makes sense. Most state bar associations maintain a list of attorneys in various areas of law that can help you find a local labor attorney. So if you don't know of one in your community, you can usually go to your state bar association, and they'll have a Facebook like a list, not Facebook like the social media platform, right? They'll have a directory. There's the right word. They'll have a directory of lawyers in your state, and it'll usually be broken down by labor type, so you can look and try to find a labor lawyer. Depending on your issue, you may want a lawyer that specializes in a specific niche, like workers' compensation, right? So if you got hurt on the job, you don't want just a normal lawyer, you want a workers' comp lawyer. And it's important when we're looking at these lists and looking at lawyers to remember that there are two sides to labor law that people can focus on. There's the workers' side, and there's capital's side. So you want to make sure that you're contacting lawyers and law firms that operate on the worker side of things, right? You don't want to, if you're just looking through, labor law, labor law, labor law, don't just call the number. Go look at their website. It should become pretty clear, pretty fast, that which side they're leaning, right? When you look at their website, it should be pretty obvious. Are they working for the companies, or are they working for the workers? And just make sure you're talking to a workers side. Labor, like I said earlier too, labor attorneys are often willing to do free consultations and work on contingency, where they are paid a percentage of if the case is successful. Nathaniel Gregory says, how many court systems are there that ignore or go for the business, and how do we deal with that? The bigger problem is that most people never report, right? It is a major problem that we consider labor law violations to be civil and not criminal. Like I said earlier, you steal you steal $100 from the cash register, you're going to jail, but your boss can steal 1,000 in your wages and they're not. That's a problem, right? And that's a foundational structure to our, a foundational problem to our in our labor laws. Going to court is always a risk, right? You can have a judge that doesn't like you. You could have an unfriendly jury. A lot of the times, these kind of things are settled, though. They don't, they don't actually get to the court case. They get settled out of court, and everyone goes home. But the reality is, when it comes to court cases, the problem is more that we have bad laws and less that judges aren't following them, right? If you have a cut and clear case that you are discriminated against, it's really hard for a judge to actually say, no, I'm not going to follow the law in this case. And if they do, you have the appeals process where you'll go up to other judges, right? And so to actually, go through the whole process all the way to the state Supreme Court or the federal Supreme Court, and have it work out that you need a dozen judges to then fight with you about it. Good night, buddy. I'll be done in a minute. Sorry, toddler bedtime. So you'd have to have a dozen judges all go against the law, and that's really not that common. What is way more common is that our laws are terrible. right? Like I said earlier, it is perfectly legal for your employer to foster a toxic workplace. That's not what we mean when we say hostile work environment. Hostile work environment only applies to the protected classes. So, um, I am not someone who puts a whole lot of faith in the judicial system and our court systems, um, but the idea that the big barrier, in terms of Nathaniel's question, is more: do you have the resources and the energy to keep fighting? When you get that one bad court at the bottom level of the justice system, um, do you have the money to appeal? Do you have the time to appeal? Do you have the willpower to appeal, and work your way through? And that those are class issues in by and large, right? And so that the ways in which our court system is part of the problem are generally systemic issues like class, and just the fact that we, from the beginning, right, look past the flowery words in our founding documents, and what we will find is a government that was, made by and for oligarchs to serve capital, right? So from the very very beginning of of our society, of the American, government and society, it's been pro business all the way. When we talk about the flip that happened after the Civil War, that flip was mostly about which party was going to be more pro business, and we see it today, right? The Republicans and Democrats fight over who's better for business. Our entire government is oriented around business. So the problem is more structural with our terrible laws and classist, systems, than it is, having a judge that's just not going to follow the law. A judge that's not going to follow the law tends to lose their job, or be overturned, more often than not.